How are we starting? Let's start with it. Cheers.
Okay.
Hello.
Oh god.
Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here in Wimberley, Texas. Victoria and I have been having so much fun on our knitting and wine and shopping and working out. We have been working out and eating girls trip.
Yes. Yes.
And as mentioned on our social
channels.
Yes, we thought it would be fun to do a Q&A for y'all, and so here we are to do the Q&A.
In real life.
In real life, we are here. It is in 3D. And we are having so much fun.
Yes, we are so much more alike than I thought, and it's dangerous, especially when we go shopping.
We're bad influences on each other.
Very bad.
Highly recommend meeting up with your sewing bestie for a fun weekend.
Yes.
In real life.
In real life. So we have this mug, and thank you, Van White.
Mug of questions.
Yes, and these are some questions that you guys asked of us, so I will pick the first one.
Yeah, we're going to take turns asking. They're good questions. You guys sent us some really great questions.
Yes. Okay, this is from, on Instagram, she's known as @FashionPhoenix. And it says, what are you going to sew during your trip? No.
Nothing. We've been doing a lot of knitting.
Yes.
But we did not even bring anything to sew.
And even if we were staying at our house, I don't think I would have, because I sometimes, like, you know, when you sew before a trip, or you make something big before a trip that you want to like bring on the trip or something like that. That's kind of what I did, and then I was like, no sewing for like at least a couple of days.
Okay, there's some construction going on. I apologize.
That hasn't happened the whole time we've been here.
We picked a perfect time to film. Oh my
but
gosh.
yeah, we are taking a break, so for sure. But I bought some yarn.
Yes, we found the cutest little yarn store. We've been knitting in the evenings while we watch movies, but we did not bring any sewing related tools. So, Next question. @NoMeSews says, what fancy tailoring tips, if any, would you recommend for home sewists?
Oh, that's a bad question for me, because I just avoid that like the plague. You want me to hand stitch that?
No, I don't like hand stitching. I will say that when I did apprentice for like a real tailor for a while, and one thing that I learned from him was to quit using pins, which sounds scary, but you don't really need them as much as you think you do. I only use pins now for like matching up seams or stripes.
Yes, stripes.
Or if it's like super, super slinky.
Or like a curve sometimes where you're like...
If like one curve is this way and one's the other way. Yes.
Sometimes.
Yeah. But I, like, the fabric knows that it's supposed to get better. You just...
But see, I wouldn't think that would be a fancy tailoring tip, because to me that's like
kind of lazy.
Yeah.
But really...
I do that all the time though.
Yeah. But really, like in like a production house or something, they're not really using a lot of pins, unless it's like couture and there's all like the pins are holding in place the hand sewing. But for a machine sewing, I would say.
And along the same lines, I don't know, is this a fancy tailoring technique of just doing all of the same thing at one time like she does in her patterns, which I absolutely love, like sewing all the seams that you can before you go to the iron and press them.
Yes.
And like I feel like that is so efficient and it's still enjoyable, and you don't have to get up and, you know, go iron something 1,000 times.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
but we're not, as far as like hand tacking or basting, we're lazy. We're both lazy sewists in that
lazy
way.
for sure.
Yeah. Okay, next question.
All right, this is from Sage. Which I don't know how to pronounce. Preaumx. There we go. And she asked 3 questions, but one of them we're going to get to in a little bit. So the first one is book recommendations.
Yes, and we have both been reading a lot, but not at all on this trip.
Nope. we brought our books because we're like, we'll just read together.
Victoria brought 2 books. She finished one on the plane, so she brought 3
books. Yeah, 3 books. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the one you just finished?
Yes.
Would you recommend
that? Yes, I would. It's called Orphan Train by... It's over in your bag.
It's called Orphan Train. We'll scroll the author below.
Yes.
We'll link it in the comments.
But it is so good, and it's got a kind of a parallel story of with 2 time periods. Not very confusing. Very good, deep. It's about a real time that, in history, so it's kind of historical fiction based. And the chapters don't go completely back and forth between each different person. Sometimes if there's something serious going on, it goes like for a couple of chapters, which I liked, but it's very good. And I brought it so that I could give it to her and she can bring it.
And I am currently reading, and so is Victoria, Shadow of the Wind, which is my favorite book of all time. I'm rereading it because I just discovered that it's a series. And there's a second book, and it's been a while since I read the first book, and I loved it so much, but I couldn't really remember what actually happened. So I decided to reread it before I read the second book, and I recommended it to Victoria, and she said she would read it with me.
Yep, I'm reading her favorite book of all time, and then maybe one day it will be
my
favorite book of all time,
which is
Redeeming Love
by... Oh, I didn't see who mine is by. Mine is by Carlos Ruiz Zafran.
Yeah. Francine Rivers. That's what mine's by.
We will link all this to go. Shadow of the Wind takes place in Barcelona. It's like a beautiful book for book lovers. It's like the writing is gorgeous. The story is sort of like suspenseful but romantic at the same time. It's very sort of dreamy and whimsical.
Very vivid imagery, really funny quotes. I just want to quote everything.
Good characters. Yes.
And then Redeeming Love, it's been a really long time since I've read it. But it's
good. Just trust it.
It's good. It's good. It's a Christian fiction, but it's such a beautiful story, and it's very deep, and it's very sad but good at the same time. It's very amazing. I love it.
And we also both read and really loved The Nightingale.
Yes.
By Kristen Hanna. And you are reading, did you read it?
I got her new book.
You haven't read it yet. Okay.
The 4 Winds. It's supposed to be during the Depression, I think.
I've read another Kristen Hanna book that I really liked. It wasn't as good as The Nightingale, but it was called Night Road, and it was more like suspense mystery-ish. But she is a very hot writer right now. And The Nightingale is going to be a movie, so.
Yes.
Okay, we could go on forever.
Yeah, we need to. I just thought of another one. I'm like, no, I'm not going to mention it. Okay. She also asks tips for fitting yourself.
Ooh, this is hard.
Come on, pattern maker.
Oh gosh. So
I have a down and dirty tip, but go ahead.
I mean, all of my tips are pretty down and dirty too. I would say make a muslin if you're not sure. I hate making muslin, so this is like advice that I don't do as I say, not as I do. But if you're not sure and if you're going to be using expensive fabric, make a muslin. And when you're by yourself, it is hard to fit yourself, but I would say try to, if you can use your phone timer to take pictures of yourself rather than looking at the mirror, because when you're looking in the mirror, especially in the back, you're twisting every which direction, things aren't really laying properly. so you can't really tell like how
length
they're fitting.
Especially, that's
length,
yeah.
yes.
Hemming.
So I would say take a picture of yourself so you can get a good idea. What's your quick and dirty tip?
Oh, there's a couple, but number one, is the pattern fitted? Like, is the garment fitted? If it's not fit, like I just made the Heather blazer by Friday Parent Company, and that blazer is clearly not fitted. It's like kind of boxy, it's a little bit oversized, and I feel like I didn't really need to make a muslin because I've already made a lot of her patterns anyway, so I know kind of how they fit. If you have like a part of your body that is usually needs adjusting, like if you have longer arms, or you know your torso's longer, or you need to adjust the bust area a lot, and it's a big change, like a couple of sizes different, then I probably would still like, you know, make a muslin if it's expensive fabric. But if it's not, just like go for it and just do what you normally do.
If it's not fitted, you don't need to make a muslin, I would say.
And look at who the pattern is like made by and what their size is.
Yes.
Because that's what it's going to be like.
Yes,
like
and explore the pattern hashtag on Instagram and look for people who have like a similar body shape of you that have made the pattern before, and a lot of times they'll talk about the fitting techniques that they had to use. On a fitted garment, if you are doing a muslin, it can be a little bit more intuitive than you expect. Like if there is extra fabric, you're essentially just pinching, and or if there's like a wrinkle somewhere, you can pinch and then just slash that paper and slide it together. And if something is tight when you're wearing it, open up the seam, see how much space that seam wants to open, and then that's how much you need to add to that pattern in whichever spot that is.
And I think I've never tried it, but I think tissue fitting is kind of the thing where people like.
I've never tried.
Yeah, I've never tried that. Apparently, it can work pretty well. So like where you're just
I don't know about
taking.
With PDFs. But
You'd have to trace them and have the tissue, but more effort than I would probably ever do. I also had just an example, like one fab pattern that was kind of had like a gaping neck, like it was just too much. And what I did on the final thing is I just took like 2 little darts or something. I can't remember how I did it, but it looked fine. But then I was like, if I went back and made this again, I would maybe just do that with the pattern and then cut out a new pattern in that new shape.
like take out what you folded out on the paper and trace out a new shape.
Yeah.
That's another, like, you could also slash and slide that as well.
Right, yeah.
Okay. At GGG GGGWENNN on Instagram says, I'm newish to garment sewing. What are some mistakes you made starting out?
Oh gosh. Cheap fabric.
Not marking your notches. Those are there for a reason.
Also, sewing a skirt to a bodice, like when you're making a dress, with the wrong side out. Like folding it out and being like, oh, I'm done. And it's all gathered and it's the wrong side out.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's totally happened to me.
Yeah, that's a rough one. Those are... I think that's all. Those are the main ones.
And cheap fabric can be very frustrating because then the grain isn't right, and then you think that you're doing something wrong, but you're not.
Not following the grain line.
Yes, not following the grain line. That's another one.
That's also there for a reason.
And using the wrong type of fabric for the pattern. Yeah.
Yes.
I did that a ton because I'm like, is this knit? I don't know.
Yes.
Seems like it stretches. No, it does not
stretch. If it stretches, that does not mean it's a knit.
No. I didn't know that.
Okay.
All right.
Those are good.
Faith at Not The Mama. That's a cool Instagram.
She's super sweet. I've met her. Hi, Faith.
Tips for getting your sojo back. I'm in a slump.
Ooh. Sojo slumps.
What?
Okay, I have one that we've been doing a lot of this weekend. Shopping. Which sounds counterintuitive. But like, don't buy things. We didn't buy any clothes.
We didn't buy any clothes.
You got a top, but there was like a unique situation.
Yeah, it was like hand embroidered.
Yeah.
It was
But I get so inspired when, because I go shopping so rarely now, and I feel like a lot of sewists who have like kind of been committed to making their own stuff don't really go shopping anymore. So when I do, I'm like, oh my gosh, like so many ideas, and like I'm always snapping pictures of garment construction or like taking measurements in the dressing room.
Follow some inspiring brands on Instagram too that don't have anything to do with sewing.
Yes. Yeah. Like fashion brands.
Yes. And just abandon your work in progress things.
Yeah,
because if you're not wanting to sew them, then they're not inspiring you. And then you probably will pick them up later. Or just don't sew for a while.
Pick up something else. Read, knit, embroider,
watch movies,
paint. Like sometimes exploring other creative outlets kind of, it's like you might just need a break from sewing, and then you'll find inspiration for sewing in the weirdest places.
And if basics are boring for you, like making basics, just don't bother. Like I don't make any workout clothes ever. I don't make any underwear.
Need to sew anything you're not excited about. You don't have to make everything.
Yeah, I used to want to do that, but eventually you'll build up enough of, you know, garments or enough me-made garments to where you have mostly me-made, but it takes a long time. Like you can't do it overnight. So
okay, Robin Jury, this one is just for you.
It was sort of for you as well. Some of it.
None of it applies to me.
Okay.
How do you keep your energy up working full-time in a high responsibility role with a growing family? I don't have a high responsibility role or a growing family.
Food is very important. And pattern making as well.
People's lives are not in my hands.
You have multiple jobs that equal a full-time job. Okay. So the high responsibility, I guess, is that I'm an anesthesiologist and I put people to sleep for a living. Went to medical school and all that stuff, and I have a really great job and I love it so much, and
you have 3 kids.
And I have 3 kids, and my job fills a part of my life and my needs that like sewing could probably never fill, or my family could never fill. It's just like the science part that I just love, and it's very stressful sometimes, but sometimes it's really nice and it's really easy. So but that being said, the hours, we moved to a small town and the hours are not completely insane, so I do have like probably more time working there than I would like in a bigger city, which is where we're originally from. So my hours are not that bad, and I have a wonderful, wonderful stay-at-home husband who will be editing this video for me. He takes all my photos and he edits everything, and he takes care of the kids, brings them to school, you know, cooks dinner, most of the time.
Allows you to go on girls' trips.
Allows me to go on girls' trips. Doesn't divorce me when I send him a picture of the yarn I bought. And I got a lot of yarn today. Yes, I won't even lie about that. But yeah, so he takes care of a lot, and our kids are a little bit older. We have a 4-year-old, an 8-year-old, and an 11-year-old. And the 11-year-old is my girl, and she is like a little mommy, so I have her now to do a lot of that stuff. And I just like sew every chance I can get. Like I will literally, like we do bullet journals, her and I, and I will literally write in my bullet journal, today, this project I want to work on, you know, a sewing project, change thread. Like, and that's all I will do that day, because I know I won't have time that day, but then other days I have hours and hours. And the kids just come around my sewing room. George will like drive his cars under my machine and pretend like it's a garage, like.
And you get a lot done.
Yeah.
Even in your like little spurts, and like sometimes I'm talking to you and you're like, oh, I did these 3 seams today, but then like in 2 days you're like, I finished.
Yeah. It's like, and now even when I have time, I've tried to balance my life a lot more with like reading and knitting and like spending time with the kids and stuff. And I used to just be more so, but now I've like backed off a little bit. And so I will just have time, but I'll be like, I'm done for today. I feel good. So yeah, I don't know. It just kind of evolved, but it's not that hard. You have so much more time in the day than you think you do. And I'm always doing something. My hands are always busy. Always.
And verb bars.
And verb bars. And working out. Working out has made me so much healthier.
Yeah.
Pamela Reif, in case you will put her down. Don't worry.
Okay.
All right.
Your turn.
Yeah. At LOOSLE. Fave places to shop for fabric online. This was another question also from Sage. She almost asked this question.
And this is, I feel like you are more
me?
Specialty.
Okay, well, Blackbird Fabric.
We love Blackbird.
Oh my gosh.
I
fabric.
have 2 things in my cart right now.
And you need to just press purchase.
I know.
There's a sale.
But it's going to be
over. It'll be over by then.
It's going to be over. There was a great sale. You all missed it. Subscribe to their newsletter.
Yes. None of this is sponsored. We just love fabric.
Yeah.
The fabric store online in New Zealand. So good.
I love y'all know I love like more eco-focused fabrics, which I do have a really good post on my blog about my favorite sustainable fabric sources. But 2 that immediately come to mind are Thrifty Notion.
Yes.
I feel like they always like I'll have something specific in mind, and even though it's all vintage and secondhand fabrics, they always have something that fits exactly
it's
what
so great. I know.
They have a great selection.
They do.
And Star from Shop Well Fiber on Instagram, who posts new fabrics every Friday morning at 10, and if you are not on there, you will miss out. But she does previews on Thursdays on her Instagram of what's going to be available the next day, and she finds the best stuff.
And she has amazing style.
Yes.
So I feel like that helps her guide her to the best
I don't know how she does it. I would love to just go in her fabric collection.
Yeah.
I don't know how she parts with this stuff.
Oh, I know.
I would never.
I would just hoard it all.
Yeah. I don't know.
And Sewing Studio, I shop there. She's a little bit smaller, but I know her personally. I met her when we went to Portland. And she has some really good gems, and she's a little bit cheap. Like, her fabric is very reasonably priced, but not cheap, not super cheap fabric, just reasonably priced.
Another good indie shop is Style Maker. I found good stuff there. They have a lot of good, like, more basics fabrics, I would say. And then every now and then I found a good print there.
What else am I thinking of? Fancy Tiger Crafts has some cool stuff. I've ordered denim from them before.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And I've heard that Tessuti has some really cool fabric, but they're also in Australia.
Yeah, you got that Australian shipping.
Yeah, but Fabric Store Online, if it's over 200 new Australian dollars or 150 US dollars, then it's free shipping, and it's really quick. My word, shit. Not that I ordered any fabric.
Oh my gosh. At Nicole's Stitches LLC says, how long did it take you to feel like you were an advanced sewer?
I'm not there yet. I don't feel like I am.
You were an advanced sewer.
I think I'm intermediate.
You're making blazers and...
Yeah, but an easy blazer. That one's easy.
But you're in the progress of making.
That's true. Once I finish my Jessica blazer, I feel like I will feel advanced.
Yeah.
That will be it.
I'm trying to think of my like the things I started sewing and my progression, and if there's like a project that stands out that made me feel advanced. And I do think it was a blazer, and it was actually one that I made when I was at school at FIT, but I mean I was a student still, so I don't think in my head I was like, oh, this is really, oh no, I think I did feel like that. Because it had like welt pockets and a lining, and we had to build a shoulder pad and all that kind of stuff, and it made me feel like, okay, maybe I do like know how to do things now.
Yeah. Welt pockets, I still don't. Yeah, I'm just a little below.
Oh. And when I was able to start sewing things without looking at the instructions.
Yeah,
Like, and just knowing the general order of things. Then I kind of felt like advanced.
Yeah, but it's the journey is super slow.
It is. I mean, this was like...
But it's fine. That's the fun.
Started sewing in like 2004, 2005, and the time that I felt advanced, I would say, was like 2012, maybe 2011.
I've not been sewing that long, but I've sewn a lot.
It's a while.
Yeah.
Don't rush yourself.
Yeah. I feel like I actually enjoy patterns that are put together differently now, because I'm like, oh, I'm not just like sewing the shoulder seams
it's like
together.
A treat, because you're like, oh,
it's a mystery. It's just a mystery.
Except whenever that happens and you didn't read the instructions, and you're like, why isn't this working? And you're like, oh wait.
But see, I'm so anal about that. I always read.
I like skim through at the beginning.
Yeah.
But I will say, don't be, even if you don't feel like you're an advanced sewer, don't be afraid to try a pattern that feels a little bit out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
Especially if it's an indie pattern. Like, their resources are so vast. Usually, I would say most indie designers have great instructions.
Yes.
If they're an English-speaking pattern.
Yes.
I think it's a little tricky whenever it's like translated, but
I've done a couple of French, like legit, just French patterns in French.
They're not as thorough, but
they're like put it together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like 5 steps for like a jacket.
But I honestly feel like everyone could sew one of your patterns. Anybody could sew any of your patterns. It's true, and I think anybody could sew the Heather blazer. Because she's got a sew along.
She has great resources.
Great instructions. And that's a blazer. So, like, if you do one of those, I feel like those are transitional because the instructions are so good.
Yeah, or start with, like, the most basic version of whatever it is you want to sew to step up your game.
Yes. Like pants before jeans.
Yes. Yes, pants before jeans.
Or no jeans, though.
Don't do jeans if you have not done pants.
At HRH King Neff. NEF. Gathering, what's your hack?
I hate gathering. My hack is very lazy. I do the more traditional way of the gathering stitches, but unless it's like a really long piece, I just do 1 row.
Yeah.
And
well, I almost always do 2. And I used to do like the zigzag over the yarn, or like on my serge, or on you can buy like gathering feet and stuff, but that was like too much work. Like, I'm like not gonna change my foot.
Step.
Yeah, and it's just so complicated.
Or floss, or I've done zigzag over shirring. Like, I don't use yarn. I use like a shirring thread, like a heavier thread usually. But here's my problem with that technique. I have done it if I'm working with trying to gather a super thick fabric.
Yes, it works well with thick fabric.
Does not want to pull through the stitches.
Yes.
But otherwise, I don't love it because it's like an extra like thing you got to get out, and I'm usually working on my straight stitch machine, so I gotta change machines.
Yeah.
But also, if it's a lighter fabric, it's not going to keep the gathers consistent as well, because they're gonna just shift all along that zigzag, and you're gonna have to sort of manually spread them out as you go to make sure they stay even. But with the traditional gathering stitches, the thread kind of holds it, like wherever once you shift it, it's gonna kind of stay where it's supposed to go.
And I usually do 1 inside the seam allowance and 1 outside of it, because then it's like I do 2 rows, and then it's like anchoring it where you're sewing.
Do you go back and pull out?
The one on the outside,
Oh, that's too much work.
Also, if you have a pattern and once you start sewing for a while, you kind of know what you're going to need to gather. For sleeves, I only do one, usually one of mine. So if it's having me gather, like, let's say a skirt or bodice piece or something, but I can see clearly that the sleeves are going to have it, like there's going to be some kind of yoke. I just gather everything. Yes, I just do all your stitches.
At the same time.
Yes.
Gather it all at once.
Yes. And then if there's a seam, I usually will stop my stitch and like restart it so I can just like match a seam and then gather in between that seam. And then,
same. We're the same person.
That's it. We're the same. We are the same person. It's amazing.
That's all our questions. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed it.
That submitted questions. That was fun.
It was fun.
We almost, full disclosure, forgot to record this.
Yeah. Because we're too busy with our snacks and our chocolate and our wine and our stores and yarn and knitting and the new show we started watching.
We started watching Emily in Paris.
Yeah, it's amazing. And we're not reading, but it's okay because we have plenty of time for that when we're apart.
Why read when we're together? Bye! Happy sewing!
That was awesome.
That was so fun!
It was! So we did it and I'm glad it's done.
It's done, we did it!
Woo!
And then we can get all the snacks out. Yes. Did I read that one or did you read that one?
I don't know. I'll just read it.
I'm just gonna sit here and drink one.
Sorry, I'm good. Here we go. Or